Hello there. Can you guess what's in this box? Let's have a look, shall we? It is, of course, a thermostat for a Vauxhall Corsa D, and in this video we'll have a go at installing it. Welcome to Car Spy TV. Right, specifically today we're working on this Vauxhall Corsa from 2011 that I bought recently as spares or repair. It has the 1.2 litre petrol engine and we're replacing the thermostat because it's leaking around the housing and pouring coolant all over the road. How annoying. Now, if you tackle this job yourself, ensure first that the car's engine is stone cold. If it's hot, there'll be lots of pressure inside the cooling system and the coolant itself will be burning hot. Therefore, if you remove the thermostat, burning hot coolant could fire out at high pressure in all kinds of directions and burn you. And according to some senior doctors, that hurts. Now it's easy to find the thermostat in this little 1.2 litre Vauxhall Corsa. It is just down there. So as you can see, access is pretty good. Nonetheless, we can make access even better by removing this black air intake pipe, which starts there and goes all the way off down there. And to remove that pipe, we need to start by undoing this bolt, this one here. And to do that, we need a T25 Torx bit. And by an amazing stroke of luck, I just happen to have one of those floating around in the £100 Nissan Micra. Right then, here comes the bolts. Comes out nice and easily, and I'm just going to pop that into my magnetic parts tray, which is slightly risky because I've already got other bolts in there from a different car, so it could be very easy to get mixed up. Right, now we should be able to just lift out this air intake pipe. So we now have an unimpeded view of the thermostat. There's the housing, and if we look just to the side of it, we can see this thing here, which is a coolant temperature sensor. That needs to be removed, and to do so we need to first open this little clip here. So I'm going to just pry that open with a flat-headed screwdriver. There we go, and then it just pulls out like so. Nice and simple. So we now move our attention from this sensor all the way over here to this electrical connector that sits directly on top of the thermostat housing. That needs to be removed as well, and there's a little trick that makes it easier. Now the best way I found to undo this clip is to simply pop a bradawl into that little gap down there and then just pry open that piece of plastic like so, and then it simply, with a little bit of wiggling, comes off like so. Okay, we're making progress, and what I've done off camera is just pop the sensor and electrical connector inside this plastic glove. That's just to keep them clean and dry until we continue to work, because inevitably when we remove the thermostat in a moment we're going to lose some coolant, and for that reason I'm just going to pop this bowl underneath the car to catch as much of it as possible. Next, we need to remove this pipe that goes into the back of the thermostat, and that, in principle at least, is easy enough. So we start by lifting up this metal clip by prying it up with a flat-headed screwdriver, like so. And that now should just lift off, he says with some optimism. Yes, there we go. And now we can pull this pipe off, at which point we're likely to get some coolant flowing down there into the bowl. Next, we need to remove the 3 bolts that hold the thermostat in place. There's one here, one there, and just for luck, a third down there. And to undo those bolts, we need a socket E11, which looks like this. Right then, let's hope these bolts actually want to come undone and don't put up too much of a fight. So, we'll start with this one. Now, come on, break loose. Oh, yes. No problem at all there. I'm just going to see if the others will crack loose at least a little before taking the first one all the way out. Come on now. Oh yes, that one's okay as well. And the third one. Come on you go. Cross your fingers. Yeah, no problem at all. Okay, so these bolts are going to come out nice and easy. Right, so all three bolts are now out. That of course means we inevitably lost a little bit more coolant down there. Most of it landed in the bowl, and that means there's nothing holding the thermostat in place anymore. Well, that looks a bit manky, doesn't it? Well, anyway, there we go. The thermostat is officially out. So far, so good. Now, off camera, if you have a look down here, I have just cleaned up this surface as best I can because I want this rubber ring that goes all the way around the circumference of the new thermostat to seal as well as possible. And if we have a look at the old thermostat, which I have over here, we can see that the ring is in very poor condition all the way around, and that presumably is why it was leaking. Right then, let's install the new thermostat, and of course we need to be careful not to damage the rubber ring around the circumference. So, gently does it, into situ, something like that, and now of course we need to do up those three bolts. Now, we need to be careful how tight we do up these bolts. If they're too loose, there'll be a leak around the thermostat housing. In contrast, if they're too tight, we could crack the housing because it's only made of plastic. Now, the problem I'm having is that I can't definitively find out what these bolts are supposed to be torqued down to. Everywhere I look gives me a different figure. So, what I'm going to do is aim for slightly tighter snug, and we'll see how that goes. Oh dear, things have not been going well. Look, I've snapped one of the bolts. So either I did it up too tight with a ratchet and it's my fault, or I was just unlucky. I don't know which. At this point it doesn't particularly matter, but the good thing is that when the bolt snapped, it just left a tiny little bit sticking outside of the engine like that, and that was just enough to get a pair of pliers on and take it out. And then by an amazing stroke of luck, my father had a suitable replacement bolt, so I put that in. I didn't film any of that though because I was far too busy inventing new swear words. Anyway, after that little drama, we are getting there. All we need to do now is pretty much the reverse of what I showed you earlier. So we've got to reconnect that big pipe to the thermostat, plug in the sensor, reattach that electrical connector, and then finally top up the expansion tank with coolant. Right, let's start it up and check for leaks. This is definitely cross your fingers time. Come on then. Let's have a look. Well, it isn't pouring out, so that's encouraging. Maybe we're going to be okay here. And the last thing I'm doing now is to replace this air intake hose, because it's getting very dark now. I can't see what I'm doing. So that end goes down there, on there. This piece goes in there somewhere, and that goes in there with a bolt. Right. Well, that looks okay. So it's cold and dark now, so we'll pop indoors and there's a couple of final things to tell you and then we'll end the video. Okay, the plan now is over the next few days to take the car on a few short little trips and then look for leaks around the thermostat housing once there's been some proper pressure in the cooling system. Irrespective of whether there are any leaks, we may well find the level in the expansion tank drops down a bit. If so, I'll top that up. Now, you may have noticed that today I only put ordinary water into the expansion tank rather than proper coolant. Clearly that's not ideal, but it'll do for now because very soon I'm going to do a complete coolant change on that car. So there you go, that's replacing the thermostat on a Vauxhall Corsa D. Now, before you go, don't forget to subscribe to Car Spy TV, do me a favour and click like on this video, and most important of all, for crying out loud, don't stab any bolts.